Richard Mille watches are expensive, no secret. But the watches I'm about to bring up on the screen are 7 of the most expensive watches that Richard Mille has to offer. Let me put it to this way. The top 1% of the richest people, of the top 1%, think twice about buying these watches. According to the Morgan Stanley report 2023, Richard Mille's turnover was $1.77 billion with an estimated 5,600 watches sold. Get the average, $275,000 per watch. That's an insane average. There's no watch company out there that can have that type of average on a single watch sold. I'm gonna go back to 2012 and I'm gonna start with the OG Sapphire Tourbillon. Again, the case was made from a solid block of crystal, and that's an amazing feat in its own. 3-part case, front, back, sides, milled from a single piece of crystal. The margin of error on that is just insane. I wonder how many cases they actually cracked before they were able to actually put a single watch together. It was a limited edition of 5 pieces made to celebrate the 10-year relationship with Felipe Massa and Richard Mille. The retail back then was, I'm gonna say, somewhere in the low ones. But this was at a time where Richard Mille wasn't that hot, and believe it or not, the first time I got my hands on an RM56, I ended up selling the watch for roughly about $900,000 in trade, actually below its retail value. But we know as the market moved, there was a green sapphire version of that and J Balvin's brown sapphire version of the 5601. The piece uniques, there's really no price to them. And I'll tell you like this, on a secondary, I know of a blue and a green and a brown that sold to the tune of $5 million. Yes, and I know this because we sold 2 of them. So following the 5601, what's the next logical thing was? The 5602. They kept all the sapphire. They updated it with that groundbreaking cabled movement where literally the movement is held by cables, similar to what you saw in the Rafael Nadal Tourbillon 2701, which we'll talk about later. $2.02 million price tag on this item, and ooh, is this thing just unbelievably, oh. Also in 2012, they debuted what's called the Skull series, which was a skull tourbillon. Now, contrary to all belief, the skull wasn't just decorative. The skulls and bone sculpture was actually part of the movement. Parts of the skull serve as a base plate, and the bridges where the upper and the lower skulls hold the tourbillon case ruby.